Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Usman Shahi from Shine Algo. Our today's topic is database modeling. Uh, in this database modeling, we will use Oracle SQL Developer Data Modeler. It's a free tool from Oracle Corporation. You can easily download this tool. Database modeling actually is a style, or you can say is a fashion in which your data will store in your database. Like for example, you have some requirements. On the basis of the requirements, you have to store some data. Now this is a question in which style your data will store in your database. Database modeling, actually it has three phases, or you can say that three levels. The first level, okay, in level 1 we just describe the conceptual phase of our database development. Okay, there is no interference of any kind of technology, whether it's database like Oracle databases, MySQL server, MongoDB, whatever they are. In your conceptual modeling, you will not mention any kind of technology. Next level, there is logical modeling. In this modeling, you will just define your top level entities and the basic relationship between your entities. Don't try to make any kind of foreign keys auto indexing or something at all in this level 2. This is just a basic, or you can say that essential relationship between your top level entities. Now let's talk about level 3. That is your basically physical data model, and or you can say that the more detailed data model of your database. In this model, you will describe your tables, you will describe your attributes, you will describe all kind of indexes, constraints, triggers, and all your database objects. So these are three levels of your database modeling. In this session, you guys will learn, or we will go through all of these points, right? Database modeling introduction, as I gave you that. ERD elements. ERD stands for entity relationship diagram, which is very important if you are a database developer, and the list goes on. So I will describe one by one as we do all of these practical things. And remember that this session is just completely associated with production environment, okay, or you can say the mission critical environment, where you have burden, you have databases, and you have to modify your database while you are working in your production environment, right? So I will give you some uh, tips and tricks how you can handle these all changes. Okay, so first, ERD elements. Here we have these elements. First of all, there is entity. Okay, any physical thing or a concept that is your entity, like student, person, or some physical thing that is your entity that has some kind of characteristics, like table, computer. These all are your entities. Anything that has any kind of specialities or characteristics, that is entity. Okay, the next one, thing can be entity. That should be a concept, right? Like the orders orders of your items. Order is just like a concept, it's not a physical thing, right? So if you have a receipt in your hand, that is physical, but there is a concept behind that. So weak entity is another type of entity that is dependent on any other entity. Like for example, you have student skills or student courses. If there is no student, then what is the use of courses, right? Nothing. So everything that is dependent on your concept or your physical thing, so that is weak entity. Or in other words, you can say that if I remove the upper level entity, the all associated child should be deleted, so that is weak entity. Associative entity, this is a symbol of your associative entity, which means that is a relationship between two major entities. Okay, so whenever we have many to many relationship, So in this case, we make this associative entity. So I will show you how you can do that. So now the attribute, characteristics of your entity, any kind of properties of your entity, like your table is your entity. It has 4 legs, it's a property of this table, right? Student has age, that is a property of your entity, that is student. And derived attribute, in a previous session I think I gave you that example. Student has age and date of birth. So if student has a date of birth, so according to that date of birth you can calculate the age of the student. Okay, by the way, it's not a good practice. If you have some derived columns in your database, so every year you have to update the age of your student. Is it true, right? Yes. So only one column is enough, that is date of birth, because next year you don't have to change the date of birth. Okay, so derived attribute is just kind of example, like you have 2 columns, line, uh, item price, and the quantity. You will multiply the quantity with the price and then you can take the line total. Is it true, right? Yes. So in this case the line total will be your derived column. Okay, so whenever you make derived column in your database, make sure you are not duplicating any kind of calculations or something that you have to do every time you take advantage of that column, right? So be careful when you create your derived columns. So now we have this side. These are the notations for your relationship. Okay, whenever you have this one, the right side one and one more, right side and left side. Okay, the right side, it will describe the nature. You guys have concept cardinality and ordinality. Yes. The maximum number of instances, those are associated with the maximum number of childs. So this is a concept I will again describe in a great detail. So here we have 2 types of relationship, mandatory, right, and optional. Where you have mandatory you have 1, and where you have optional you have this kind of 0, right? And other types are cardinalities like 1 to many and many to many, 1 to 1 and 1 to none, right? So these are the concepts of interrelation diagram. So I will see you in the next tutorial. I will show you how you can do that in a practical way.